Hello and welcome to a special edition of NOTAM coming to you from the Paris Air Show. I'm Tim Robinson, Editor-in-Chief of Aerospace, and with me at the moment are the aerospace team that's been out at the show. So introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Angelika and I'm a reporter intern here at Paris Air Show.
Hi, I'm Jack Richardson and I'm the features editor for Aerospace magazine.
And I'm Charlotte Bailey, freelance reporter here with the aerospace team.
Okay, so it is now day 4? Day 4 of the show.
How long have we been here, Tim? I can't even remember at this point.
It feels like forever. So the show here, we're on day 4 of the trade days here. The general feeling for the show, it's been on a little bit of a shadow. Unfortunately, just prior to the show, there was an Air India 787 Dreamliner crash, which has obviously affected the mood of the show. And there's an ongoing and escalating war between Israel and Iran that's going on at the moment. That's actually seen here, repercussions here. We've seen some of the Israeli defense stands covered up by the organizers. And also, Boeing has taken a very low-key approach to the show. Their executives were meant to come, but they've been very quiet and very subdued for obvious reasons. Elsewhere, what we've seen is defence has been a major focus of this show. We've had SDR in the UK, and we've had geopolitical tensions, conflicts, and Europe rearming. That's come out very, very strongly at this show. We'll be talking about that later. Boosting defence budgets and that sort of thing where we're looking around for European solutions to European defence. So onto the sort of different topics we have. We've got people here. We've all been there. We've all been hovering up the news.
We've had no shortage of news.
Yeah, we've had no shortage of news. But I'm going to start off with what's been going on the military side of stuff. So first off, there's been a bit of interesting stuff going on with FCAS or with future fighters. So obviously FCAS, next generation, 6th generation, if you like. It's here at the show. We've got a mock-up, but it's actually been tucked around the corner of the Dassault stand, which has raised some eyebrows. And instead, Dassault, obviously French company, they've had their Rafale front and centre, and they've also had a Neuron-like UCAV. So that's raised some questions about their commitment to the Franco-German, Spanish, future combat programme. Dassault are the lead, kind of integrator on that in terms of the core combat fighter, but it's a wider program. There's combat cloud with that. There's loyal wingmen or CCAs or remote effectors. Choose the acronym of the day with that. So there's some interesting kind of background noise going on there about the commitment to it. And in fact, we had the Airbus Defence Chief, one of the head of air power there, saying yesterday, it doesn't have to be a toxic partnership. So obviously Airbus representing the German side of this partnership, and relations between Dassault and the French side of things and the German are a little bit strained. It's described almost as pre-nuptials. The other interesting news that came out yesterday is that France has decided to buy the Saab GlobalEye for its E3F fleet, which is obviously its AWACS. It's going now for a European solution from Sweden. That's a sign of the times here. There's other things there in airlines where this geopolitical kind of stuff is rippling through and making people make decisions there on what equipment they buy. Another winner from the show on the defence side of things has been Embraer and its KC-390 military transport. So Portugal has bought an extra one. 3 examples for Lithuania, so they're a new customer, and Portugal is also buying 10 for NATO. So they're buying 10 essentially as sort of white-tail spares, but essentially means that they can now have a government-to-government kind of sales, and that's much faster. So if you want a tactical transport in the near future, you go and talk to Portugal because they've got some. The other thing here is we've got CCAs on display. Jack will be talking about drones later, but these are the high-end stuff. These are the Royal Wingman. We've got the Andorra Fury. We've got the General Atomic Gambit here. That's a big old drone. And we've got Neuron 2. Well, I don't know. We don't know what it's called. It's just the Dassault kind of UCAV is its captioned down there. But what's interesting is the 2 UCAVs from the US. They're now in ground testing with the USAF, and it's interesting that they're on display here. Obviously, for looking for other aircrafts who want to increase their combat mass. Talking about combat mass, we talked to F-35 the Lockheed Martin F-35 this week. They're now producing a staggering 170, 190 fighters a year. Now, obviously, the program has had its challenges, but they do seem to be working through that now. They've got the 200th TR3 jet that has just come off the production line. That's the big sort of update, and people are now looking forward to Block 4, which is, they say, it's the most aggressive update in the history of fighters. On the other side, we see Eurofighter are increasing the production rate. Again, this is a sign of the times with the geopolitical tensions, increased conflicts, threats, and Europe rearming. So they are now upping their production rate, and they're also shifting to try and get what they previously termed long-term evolution into a midlife upgrade. They're basically trying to get things moving faster, quicker, get these new capabilities, and also make it so that the Eurofighter will have these updates put in and make it combat capable and able to fly in service with F-35 and GCAP and FCAS out to the 2060s. What else have we got? Well, C-17s. There's been talk of Boeing restarting C-17 production there. Strategic airlift, big sort of topic here as well. And there are no, there's obviously KC-390, but there is a looming gap there, I think, in large airlifters. And then the other thing we've got here is there was rumoured to be that China bringing its J-10 CE there. So there is a Chinese stand here. It's got models of Chinese fighters, ever expanding range there, J-35 and J-20. No actual J-10 CE there, and given what's happened between sort of India and Pakistan, probably for good reasons why one wasn't allowed to come here. But enough about that. On to sustainability. Charlotte, what have you found in sustainability?
Tim, it's sort of been a slightly different leap there. I mean, how on earth would we talk about this show without mentioning geopolitical tension, which is sort of very much the dominant theme? Whereas when the team were here on the ground 2 years ago, it feels like sustainability was very much first and foremost, or at least a lot closer towards the front of the agenda. Now, that has in no way gone away this year. It's there if you know where to look with it, and I think France has always been quite a good innovator in sort of helping fund, helping structure, helping maybe support new initiatives, especially sort of within the region that we're in here. I think probably one of the most interesting things for me here at the show was Volt-Aero.
Yeah.
We saw them 2 years ago with their sort of twin boom Casio 330 upcoming project. They've now gone boomless. So not unlike the boomless cruise that Booz Supersonic have got, it's now gone for a single high T-tail configuration, which they've said is to maybe help simplify their way through upcoming EASA certification requirements in the event of a blade failure or a sort of a propeller mishap. It's easier to certify with a single T-tail, and the first flight prototype of the configuration is looking at coming up early 2026. Elsewhere, if you've been in the UK like we have, you may have seen Beta Technologies has been on something of a UK tour. We didn't manage to get any tour t-shirts, although I think that would have been quite a good one. One of the first aircraft to arrive on the static line here, I think, was the Alia CTOL. Now, it's not the eVTOL electric vertical takeoff and landing, it is the conventional takeoff and landing, or the CTOL variant. It made its debut in the flying display, and it looks like it's been having fantastic fun at the same time. So really good to get up close with the Alia as well. elsewhere, a new company on me this year, and I always like to kind of have a mooch around the shows and see what little bits and pieces we've got that maybe we haven't picked up on before. A company called Blue Spirit Aero, who are again French. They've got a distributed electric propulsion concept called the Dragonfly. It is bright blue. It's quite interesting looking. Initially a 4-seat, moving into a later 6-seat concept, really for the regional market, fueled by gaseous hydrogen. We've had recent ground tests, actually as recent as last week, out at Le Mans, using the ground demonstrator. And Blue Spirit Aero were explaining to me that the hydrogen infrastructure, not necessarily just for aviation, but for kind of the mobility ecosystem as a whole, is again perhaps more advanced in France than it is in other places. So it's a really great area to kind of test out how hydrogen integration may work, you know, from ground transportation and car applications, and then kind of feed that back into aircraft as well. So they're going to keep the ground charging hydrogen station at Le Mans and probably for the rest of this year, and then we're looking at a first flight of another upcoming prototype from next year onwards.
But they're self-contained sort of fuel and engine pods, aren't they?
Yeah, sort of 12 pods underneath the wings, 6 under each of sort of the low fixed wings. Apparently 12 was the right number, so 12 is the magic number in terms of Blue Spirit Aero. Yeah, really excited to see how that one is going on. Hydrogen, hybrid electric, still very much topics of conversation. I think Airbus and Descendants Flight Technologies have announced a new hybrid electric partnership that's going on behind the scenes. Zero Avia, who have been going great guns with their hydrogen propulsion systems, the ZA600 and then the upcoming ZA2000. Going to partner with Loganair for potential engine retrofits, I think it is. So it's all very much kind of happening behind the scenes here. Interestingly, I've only heard SAF mentioned twice this week in a topic that almost dominated a couple of years ago. Now, whether or not this is sort of maybe an expected level, not of attribution, but you know, a lot of the first flights with SAF have already been done. We've done the first blended SAF on, you know, insert type here or insert commercial type here. So maybe we just don't need to shout about it as much. And you know, there's still partnerships to scale up development and, you know, maybe kind of bring down that price parity through augmented supplies in the background, really.
It's incentivising the scaling it up, isn't it, really, at the moment? That's the challenge.
And I think probably for us one of the other most exciting things on the sustainability angle is 2 years ago we were talking about the consortium with the Daher-led EcoPulse demonstrator. That concluded the end of a 2-year project earlier this year, with the lessons leveraged kind of already explained. However, in a new 2-year initiative, we've got a new consortium of Daher, Safran, Collins and Ascendants that are looking at hybrid electric architecture propulsion system for Kodiak.
Wow.
So we're going to have the first learnings reported by the end of this year, and with sort of the bigger project kind of lessons learned at 2 years from now. Interestingly, though, we're not going fully electric on this. We're going hybrid, which again, hybrid, as we'll talk about in the world of eVTOLs later, it seems to be kind of setting a new reality for expectations in hybridization, maybe the way some companies are at least leaning to right now.
Okay, thanks very much for that. So over to spaceflight. What have you found?
Well, space is cool wherever you are, so especially at the Paris Air Show, it was incredible. There's an entire space hub just next to us, actually, so loads of cool things going on there. Some new companies and also the expected old companies like ESA. Tim, you've already mentioned the kind of focus on defence at the air show, and I think that's no different for the space activity going on here. So there's been space plane concepts that have been very prevalent. Dassault has a space plane that they were showcasing in the very beginning stages, the conceptual stages, but they have said that there are plans to have this crewed space plane in the future, and also some potential military capabilities for this as well. So that would be interesting to see happen. Dawn Aerospace were also present here, and they presented their space plane concept, which would aim to travel to space daily, twice a day even, which would be incredible. A very, very quick turnaround to get into space. And again, military capabilities there, but also a lot of research, microgravity research, searching for cancer cures, etc. So a lot of just good plain old science and exploration, which would be really cool to see. The defence focus at ESA was definitely evident, and kind of focus on security. So one of the key panels that was there were navigation and securing sovereign European navigation, which would be really interesting. So concepts of position navigation and timing capabilities in low Earth orbit, which has not been done before. So having the sovereign European capabilities and not having to rely on American capabilities, which obviously with the proposed cuts to the NASA budget, I think Europe is definitely looking at how we can have our own capabilities there, and that was very evident from the conversations had. The EU Commissioner for Defence and Space joined the ESA Director General in discussing the future of European space and defence. So it was interesting to see the ESA Director General openly say that Europe does need to step up their presence in defence in space, and there is a role that ESA would play in that, which in previous years would have been unheard of. I mean, the focus was always very civilian and science missions, so very interesting to see that shift in today's climate. But shifting away from the defence, there has been some really cool science and exploration going on. So the Proba 3 mission revealed its first images of the sun's corona. So that was revealed here at the Paris Air Show, and it comprised of eclipse on demand, is what it was dubbed as, which was really cool. So 2 satellites were flying in close formation, really precise, 5mm precision, which again, incredible. To cast a fake eclipse to be able to study the sun's corona. So really interesting to see what kind of data ESA will draw out of that and how that can help us in the future. And probably a highlight for me was the lunar rover that was revealed by Venturi Space. So we had the pleasure of interviewing some of the people there and getting a tour of all of their rovers on offer, and specifically their latest rover, which is a fully European rover. So again, kind of coming back to those sovereign European capabilities that have been the focus here. We were introduced to a brand new rover with the aim to launch in 2030 called the Mona Luna, that would land on the moon and help us and help us explore the lunar surface. So yeah, again, some cool capabilities with that. 20 kilometers per hour possible speeds, which unheard of to this day, and some cool mining capabilities on that. So there was a mining equipment already on the rover, and we were told that this is capable of running, very functional, just needs to go to the moon. So fingers crossed, one day it'll get to the moon and then we can see it in action, and learn some cool things from that.
Great news from our rovering reporter. Good to jump on another terrible pun.
And the pun down challenge has been worked. Thanks for that. No, it's a fascinating space. Is always, it's not just an air show; it's a space show as well. And obviously, we've got the thing there of NASA budget cuts. What does this mean for international partners who are here at the show? Jack, you've been looking at drones, haven't you?
Yes, there's been a heavy emphasis on drones, and in the current climate, as you'd expect, on the defence side as well. So, not far from where we're sitting here is the MBDA Pavilion, where they were showcasing their one-way effector. Now this is something of a deviation from their normal missile portfolio, and this is essentially a low-cost attributable one-way weapon which can be used to saturate enemy positions, meaning that the warhead is heavy enough to mean that surface-to-air weapon systems have to engage it, and in the process expend their ammunition magazines. But intriguingly, MBJ are looking here at actually producing this in collaboration with the automotive sector to make sure thousands can be produced in a short time frame if needed.
So you're rearming again,
absolutely,
yeah. Okay.
And on the drone side, so we've had I attended a signing ceremony to create LBA Systems, which is a new joint venture between Italy's Leonardo and Turkey's Baykar Industries, where Baykar drones will be fitted with Leonardo payloads such as sensors, meaning that a lightweight innovative company can take advantage of the scale afforded by Leonardo. And we've seen lots of other drone developments too, with the long-awaited Eurodrone on display in the Static Park. And we've also had news including that the Spanish CERTAP drone, the first prototype, has been fully assembled. And on the American side, there was quite an interesting development with General Atomics ASI signing a deal with Saab to fit Saab's airborne early warning solutions to the Reaper family of drones, which could be offered for both land-based or naval applications.
So Saab is on a real roll with the AEW stuff at the show, yeah.
Sign at the times, isn't it?
And this is all at the time when the RAF's Wedgetail program is facing yet more delays. So on the smaller scale drones, we've seen Safran's Patroller with weapons fitted. So again, seeing how various companies what they can offer to the military space. And also on the UK side, making its debut here was the Windracers logistics company, and they showed us how their Ultra Mark II drone, how it's got a cargo bay which can deploy surveillance equipment or various types of humanitarian assistance. And they announced the deal with Aviation Sans Frontières at the show to collaborate on delivering humanitarian aid. And also interestingly, they held talks with the Indian Navy about acting in the carrier onboard delivery role for the service in its region. And also now going back again to more advanced drones, I attended a briefing with Boeing where they talked about the potential for their MQ-25 Stingray, how they could, in the European market, potentially be a land-based variant equipped with a boom, and also the MQ-28, which has recently been controlled from an Australian Wedgetail. Boeing are targeting this at European customers with the aim to ensure a shorter supply chain and sovereignty of actually building them on the continent, expanding their already extensive European operations.
Interesting. And talking of drones, I mean, again, another sign of how many companies are shifting to or trying to expand in the defence market. Behind us is Aura. They do light aircraft. They're also working on a sustainable commuter aircraft, and they're also working on a male UAV themselves, aren't they?
That's right. Yeah. And that's in addition to the Intruder, which is a military variant of their ERA regional turboprop, which they build at their subsidiary in Abu Dhabi.
Excellent. Okay, well, on to the commercial side of things. So a little bit less, a little bit more quieter on the commercial side of things. Usually the Paris Air Show, you've got these mega deals, and it's complete chaos in press conferences. It's still chaos in some of the press conferences, but it's a little bit quieter on this side of things. Airbus has ended the week as we record this with about 148 orders. The big things here were LOT Polish Airlines, who were a staunch Embraer E-Jet operator, and they've defected to Airbus with a 220 order. We've got Saudi Arabian startup carrier Riyadh Air, who signed for 25 A350-1000s. They're going to be, I think, starting operations later this year. We've got a VietJet. They stole some of the headlines with an order, an LOI for 100 A321neos. We had Starlux Airlines with an order for 10 A350-1000s as well as the main orders. We've also had Embraer. They got about 70 orders. WestJet with 60. ATR also had racked up some orders with 15 ATRs for JCX. And we also had some Embraer E-Jets, which are going to be in the freight version as well. So quite a subdued sort of show in terms of major orders compared to previous years. But one of the other interesting things there was about manufacturing, and we had news here that Jet Zero, which is a US company, is working on a blended wing body airliner, and they announced they were going to create around 15,000 jobs in North Carolina to build a factory. North Carolina is also going to be the home for Boom Supersonics, supersonic factory for their Overture. So that's 2 future airliners to be built in the same place in the US.
Quite a shift of gravity.
It's a shift of gravity. Yeah, it's a centre of gravity in the same. So really interesting stuff there on blended wing body airlines. There's a couple of other companies working on that. And really, it's been driven by, obviously more efficient airliners, sustainability, but also a growing frustration in maybe in the airlines that things aren't happening fast enough. Airbus and Boeing are sitting on massive order backlogs, supply chain things to work through. Hydrogen isn't perhaps coming as fast as they thought. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So where are we going next? Advanced air mobility, eVTOLs. Where are air taxis?
Interesting you say that, Tim, because we were sitting here 2 years ago and opening the Flying Le Bourget at 2023. It was Volocopter.
Yep.
German startup. They were opening with the super quiet eVTOL. Volocopter, nowhere to be seen this year, at least in a presence with an aircraft. A few people sort of here having meetings behind the scenes, but it's very much a shift from where you might have projected the industry would have gone over these ensuing 2 years. I mean, indeed, we had sort of an entire hall dedicated to eVTOL mock-ups 2 years ago, sort of a cityscape kind of landscape kind of use case scenario. Nothing like that this year. The eVTOL manufacturers that are displaying here, and there are a lot fewer of them, are sort of just dotted around the rest of the hall. So it's definitely kind of not the necessary all eyes on the topic as a whole focus that we had a couple of years ago.
So it's something of a narrowing down process towards those which have got a greater chance of success then.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, unfortunately we've lost Lilium in the ensuing 2 years. Volocopter, I've just mentioned, have been bought out by Diamond Aircraft's parent company. I suppose the major eVTOL, no, there's only one E in that. There's only Eve, haven't there? Eve got in very early, as usual, on the Sunday with the first order of the show. Launch customer for their eVTOL, which is Revo, based in Sao Paulo, are going to have 50 aircraft, which is quite exciting. And for the first time, we've had Eve unveil what they say is a largely representative mock-up of what the current aircraft that is about to start flight testing, I think it's going to be this summer, is going to look like. A few little tweaks and redesigns. We've got 4-bladed props on the top. We can have optional landing gear as well as skids, and then and the other interesting news is they're also doing cuddly toys.
maybe.
Perhaps not the serious news we were looking for, Tim, but there are the first eVTOL plush, stuffy, cuddly toy has also been available this year and
available in the shops for Christmas. But it's also to say, I think it's fair to say that some companies aren't here because they're concentrating on the flight testing, they're concentrating on certification. So Joby aren't here with a mock-up or an air vehicle. Similarly, Vertical. Both of these companies are doing flight tests at the moment, so that would probably pull them out about this key point.
Although Archer are another major US manufacturer that are here. You know, they've got a very large presence with a mock-up in one of the halls. And interestingly, 2 years ago, a lot of the talk was about what Volocopter were planning to do for the upcoming Paris 2025 Olympics. There were various routes, proving flights, even mention of passenger carrying commercial activity happening. Whereas Archer are now targeting the LA 2028 Olympics. So could we be seeing, you know, another story unfolding here as to maybe a better chance of success with this much further down the line and technological maturation? We don't know.
And Archer also, as well as Archer, there's also Vertical, which are now talking about hybrid versions.
So Archer and Vertical in recent months have announced sort of a hybrid version. Details have been quite scant on that yet. Both companies have sort of promised that more will be revealed in the fullness of time, which we are looking forward to. But again, another two companies that are focusing on potential defence applications, so a potential duality, and that is again very much in keeping with the flavour of the show and the flavour of the times, bringing a project to certification, you know, looking at your extended use cases and what the market wants from that. Whereas I suppose the last thought I'd like to make on the eVTOL segment here though is we do have EHang. And EHang are the first certified eVTOL in the world. They're a Chinese company, so they've had a Civil Aviation Authority of China type certification, and they got their first Air Operators Certificate AOC in March of this year. And EHang are the first to now actually have started commercial passenger carrying rides, where maybe none of their Western counterparts are quite at that point yet. So a little way ahead in the market. EHang explained to me yesterday that they have now had 60,000 flights in total. Obviously, not all of those will be commercial passenger carrying, that sort of flight tests and ongoing activity in total. And then that has happened in 19 different countries.
Wow.
So EHang see the domestic Chinese market as potentially taking up about a third of worldwide demand, which they say is more than enough to be keeping them busy. Although there have been conversations happening during the show with the European and even the British regulator, which probably we're not going to see come to fruition in the next year or so, but an interesting angle to keep a steady eye on all the same.
Yeah, so that's the Chinese low altitude economy, which they're very, very keen on promoting. So a lot of innovation on show, a lot of excitement here, a lot of future stuff, and it's also a great showcase for careers, STEM and women in aviation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no shortage of careers and skills, opportunities and stands to go and see. So there's a dedicated careers plane, which has many stands. I think over 40 schools, universities, apprenticeship centres that offer aerospace programmes and different aerospace activities that students, early career professionals can get involved in. This is all in the same room as a massive Concorde where students and anyone there can go in and have a tour of the Concorde, which is really cool. So definitely a lot of things to entice the younger generation, which is really, really cool. Loads of startups as well, 130 startups at this Paris Air Show, focusing on AI and next generation technologies in space and in aviation. So there's a lot to excite students. And also we've already seen plenty of groups of young students walking around the static line, looking at the air displays, the stands. Everyone's very open to speak to them. So yeah, I think in the next few days, on the weekend when the air show opens up to the public, there'll be even more of that. So definitely a great opportunity for the younger generation.
Okay, and going back to defence again, Jack, you've been looking at some of the new missiles that are on display, haven't you? Obviously, it's a hot topic at the moment, missile defence especially, and also long-range strike, etc. What have you found there?
Well, there's lots to see in that area. So the MBDA stand have got at the front is a model of the FCASW, the family of new land attack and anti-ship cruise missiles being developed jointly by the UK, France, and Italy. On a smaller scale, I visited the Korean aerospace industries stand yesterday, and again that showed their various helicopter portfolio fitted with air-launched effectors, and on the Leonardo stand, there's the various options for Italy's forthcoming AW249 attack helicopter, intriguingly including the Brimstone, as well as what looks like an air-launched drone, which can be deployed from the helicopter to look over the hill, which is particularly relevant in the context of the increased vulnerability of helicopters, which we've seen from Ukraine. And also on the NH90, the navalised version at the show, as well as anti-ship missiles and a helicopter, there's what appears to be a low-cost attack rocket. So there really does seem to be a theme here of ensuring every platform has an attack capability if needed.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I mean, there's even old school rockets down there by the Rafale as a low cost anti-drone sort of weapon.
As well as that, by the Rafale, Safran have got a new extended range variant of its AASM boosted bomb, which they claim has twice the range of the original variant, meaning again it means air defences can be disabled if necessary.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot of the different topics there. So we're gonna. What's people's highlights? Who wants to start?
I'll start. For me, I think it would be the CX300s from Beta Technologies. I saw that flying on the first day of the show, and for me, it's quite a highlight because it's the first time I've actually seen an electric aircraft fly, and it looked incredibly manoeuvrable, and gave a very effective display, and it'll be well worth seeing as it continues its European tour, though there was actually a French Army NH90 powering up, so I couldn't quite hear exactly how quiet the CX300 was.
You'll just have to imagine it. Okay, yeah. What about you?
I'd say my highlight was speaking to and seeing the newer space companies. So the exploration company was a particularly good one, looking to send people to the International Space Station, future space stations, and the moon. So some incredibly cool technology and opportunities there to get involved in Europe. And they actually have their first their flight for an uncrewed cargo vehicle launching in a few days, with plans to do a test flight to the ISS in 2028. So definitely something to look out for, and I haven't heard of them before, so again it goes to show how many cool new companies there are here.
Charlotte, what about you?
Well, come to the dark side of Rotary Wing have said quite a few friends and colleagues over the coming last kind of weeks and days. And you know what? I'm actually tempted now, having seen the Lockheed Martin S-97 Raider for the first time. Next generation light tactical helicopter, still in the prototype and testing phase at this point, but it's the first time it has left the US. An ongoing program, speeds of up to 220 knots, which is pretty impressive, being developed sort of around the US Army's future attack reconnaissance aircraft, but definitely capabilities that are in demand worldwide, and a lot of confidence going on there that we could be seeing some more news in the coming months and years on this program. So great to have some time with the test pilot to walk us through the hows, whats and whys of this aircraft, and certainly a great one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's been one for high-speed rotorcraft, hasn't it? Because we've also got the Airbus Racer here as well. So if you like your helicopters that go fast, you like things that look like Airwolf, this is the show for you. So my highlight, actually, just found it today. So I was just wandering past a pavilion, went and had a look in there in the Thales pavilion, lots of interesting stuff to see. But one of the things they've got there was a connected cockpit of the future, And one of the things they were demoing there was contrail management. Now, this is something that the society, the Royal Aeronautical Society, has been working on. It's a Green and by Design group. We've had conferences on the subject. We've had workshops on the subject, and Thales has been doing a trial, well, not a trial actually, it's ongoing, with a French regional airline called Amelia. And what happens is Thales is taking weather data, looking for where you might have persistent contrails, refining the airline's flight route, and then sending it back to the planners, and the airlines then flying the route. So it's tiny little tweaks. It's only 1 or 2% of flights, and they're getting 80 to 85% reduction in contrails. So there's how they monitor it is still in sort of development. Satellites, maybe ground stations as well. This is a regional airline as well, so it's short distances rather than long haul, say across the North Atlantic, where you're going to make the most of impact. But 75% acceptance rate from the airline of giving these sort of like new flight routes to the airline. There is 1 or 2% more fuel burn. That is the price there, but 75% acceptance rate means that the airline is willing to kind of do that. And the big takeaway from this is this could be a huge. We're talking 50% cut in aviation's climate impact if you can get rid of these persistent contrails. So, big takeaway there. I went in there. I had a quick word with them. Seems to work. And it's one of these things that, why not try it while we're waiting for SAF to scale up, while we're waiting for hydrogen to come in. Why not try roll this out? Why not get other airlines on board and use this flight planning software? Get in touch. The next stage, obviously, would get the ATM and the service providers involved, and not just one airline, but all of the airlines. But that was really exciting stuff to see. What what we'd previously sort of seen as theoretical, and it works.
It could prove to be quite low-hanging fruit as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, anything else from the show? Any other? What are people's general impressions? Two of you haven't been to a Paris Air Show before, so what did you think? You've been to Farnborough though? What did you think of this?
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect. This was my first Paris Air Show, and also my first air show in the earlier days of the air show. So last year at Farnborough, I went to the public days at the end of the week. So this was really a first for me. So many cool things. It's huge. So I think I wasn't expecting that. Very easy to get lost. I definitely got lost a few times in all the halls. But amazing flying displays, and yeah, general impressions are fantastic. So I hope to be back.
Excellent.
Again, it's my first time, and I've really enjoyed it. It feels quite different to Farnborough. Here, there's more of a distinct French feel with local primes such as Dassault and Safran in pride of place, whereas Farnborough is more international from multinational corporations. But that's not to say there's not a lot of cutting edge innovation here. So one example was China's United Aircraft had their T400 tandem rotor UAV, rotary wing UAV on display, which can be used for lots of applications such as logistics in remote areas and crop spraying. But yeah, I thought there was a very exciting vibe here at the show, with lots of, as we've all been saying, lots of innovation from both new players and established companies.
Charlotte, you've been here before, and this is your second Paris.
I've survived my first iteration, and I enjoyed
back
it
for
so
more.
I came back for more. Yeah, I think as we alluded to earlier, Tim, it's just been kind of a very different vibe of the show this year, obviously recognising the tragedy that happened in the days preceding the show's opening, kind of being respectful around that, but then just being aware of the wider geopolitical context. And this is a word that has just come up so many times this week, but how could it not, quite frankly? So no, I very much enjoyed enjoyed the show this year. I've got a bit more of a sense of navigation, but I still have got horribly lost walking between the chalets. So maybe if I'm back here in 2 years' time, I will work on that, but I make no promises.
Send Charlotte a map. I mean, I would agree with that. It's usually what happens in terms of divisions of shows is Farmer tends to have a sort of more of a military feel, somehow more of a defence feel, and it's Paris where you get the big mega deals of airliners. This year it's obviously very much flipped. Defence is front and centre. Europe is rearming, and there is a big focus there on how does Europe gets sovereign capabilities in military, space, etc., etc. And it's even kind of trickled over into the commercial world, because LOT Polish Airlines has decided to go with Airbus 220 instead of a Brazilian, and that's pulling things in. We're going to go with a European manufacturer in that sense. So lots of these sort of second, third order effects that go on. But otherwise, it's a great show. Fantastic to see so much technology on display, catch up with people, and just see what's going on in the world of aerospace. So we are going to be back next time. We'll catch up with you at the next international show. So goodbye from all of us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
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 And if you would like to follow our coverage from the show, Tim, where can the lovely people watching this manage to catch up?
Well, first off, like and subscribe this video if you're on YouTube. Like and subscribe, or hit follow if you're listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, etc., etc. You can find us at www.aerosociety. You can find me tweeting RES Tim R on X, still on X, posting, tweeting, Blue Sky, and of course Aerospace Magazine for members. So if you're a RES member, you get this every month, and it's also available digitally as well. So that is the way to keep up with the news. Okay, thanks very much. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.